again and welcome to another Mordy and Glory bolt action video. In today's episode we shall once again be casting our ever critical eye over another bolt action tank. Recently I've been covering units like the American, Pershing and Jumbo Sherman. In the past I've looked at some British vehicles such as the Cromwell and the Churchill. But what if we combined them? What if we looked at an American vehicle that was improved by some fine British engineering? I am of course talking about the infamous Sherman Firefly. And so without further ado, let's not mess around anymore. Let's have a look at the good, the bad and the ugly of this Allied tank. As is tradition, let us begin with an overview of the Sherman Firefly. There are 3 different points values for the Sherman Firefly depending on how experienced you want the crew to be. If you take them as inexperienced, it will be much cheaper, coming in at 236 points. If you take it as a regular Firefly, it will come in at 295 points, and if you want a veteran crew, it will be 354 points. That is very expensive when you consider that the average pickup game of bot action is about 1,000 points. If you're new to bot action, you might be wondering what's the difference between an inexperienced tank crew and a veteran one. After all, if you're coming from like a 40k background, for example, you might think just go for the cheapest option, right? Here's the thing. Inexperienced tank crews have a whole bunch of debuffs. Firstly, their leadership is much lower. Secondly, they have an inbuilt -1 to hit modifier. And you're paying 200 plus points for a tank. You don't want that thing having permanent -1 to hit. Start combining that with some cover and maybe some range, and this thing might never actually hit anything. You also have the issue where if someone hits you with a anti-tank weapon, even if they can't penetrate your hull, let's say it's an anti-tank rifle, it's massively outdated by the time this late war units come around, you still have to take the pin. If you go for a regular tank, you have better leadership, you can ignore pins that can't hurt you on a 4+, and you also don't have that -1 to hit leadership. If you go for veteran, the only advantage over regular is you can ignore all pins that can't physically hit. In my experience with a unit like this, veteran is a little too pricey. I would go down the middle at 295 points for the regular, because there's going to be plenty of units that like anti-tank weapons, anti-tank rifles, that aren't going to really be a threat to you, and you probably have to shrug those pins off with your 4+, but you're also not having all the debuffs like you would in experience. So regular is the go-to for me. Regardless of what veterans you go for, each Sherman Firefly is equipped with 1 turret-mounted 17-pounder super heavy anti-tank gun and a coaxial MMG. It's also a medium tank, so it has a damage value of 9+, making it reasonably durable. Someone's going to have to hit you with something like a light or medium anti-tank gun to really be a threat, and even then at long range you'll find that this thing should bounce more shots than it takes. As for weapon options and extra guns you can strap onto this thing, most Sherman Fireflies don't have any, but there is a Canadian loadout. This allows you to add a pintle-mounted MMG to the turret for 15 points, and you can upgrade that MMG to an HMG for 10 points. This is found in the D-Day British and Canadian sectors on page 147. Last part of the overview, we have the special rules. First one is easily catches fire. This is a very common rule on Germans. If a roll on the vehicle damage table results in the vehicle catching fire, you add D3 pin markers rather than just 1 before taking a morale test. If you've gone for a regular Sherman Firefly, this is rough. It means that on average you'll be leadership 6 before you take that test to see if the crew bail out of the vehicle, are able to fire out. You also have the HE 3-inch template for the super heavy anti-tank gun, meaning that it's actually not so bad at blasting apart infantry squads as it may first seem. And then if you have gone for the Canadian option and you've gone for a pintle machine gun of some kind, you'll have the flak special rule, which gives you the chance to cut down or drive off enemy planes when they come and try and do a strafing run. Now that just about covers the overview of the Firefly, but now let's get into the deep dive. Let's get into the nitty gritty and see what are the pros and cons of this tank. Starting off with the good things, the best bit about the Sherman Firefly is its gun. That turret mounted 17 pounder super heavy anti-tank gun is going to give you a weapon which has a +7 pen value with an 84-inch range. Most of the time, you're not going to suffer from a -1 to hit for long range. And when you do hit them, because you're going to be within half range, because 42 inches is a really, really good half range, you're going to be hitting them with the full +7. Even if you're shooting into heavy tanks like Tigers, you're going to be glancing on a 3 and penetrating on a 4+. That's really, really good. If you come across any kind of medium tank, like a Panzer IV or a late Panzer III, you're going to be glancing on a 2 and penetrating on a 3+. Considering that the only to hit modifier you're likely to encounter is light cover, and that's because the way you would use a Sherman Firefly is you would have it lock down an area of the board. You'd be like, look, I know my tank's exposed, but it's going to sit there, covering a firing lane, covering an objective, and I'm just going to stick it on ambush. The moment one of your tanks rolls out, at best you're going to be hitting it. You're not going to have to worry about movement, the -1 to hit. You're not going to have to worry about range because you've got 42-inch half range, which is wild. So it's just going to be light cover at best. And so that's a 4 to hit. When you do hit a medium tank, more often than not, you're going to penetrate it. And then it's just a 50-50 to kill it. And you could even say you've got a 66% chance of killing it because you've got setting fire to the vehicle. Well, you compare that to something like a medium anti-tank gun. It's like, well, okay, I'm going to have to more than likely move. And then there's going to be range factor. Probably won't be in half range to the first shot that I fire. And also there's going to be light cover. Medium anti-tank guns probably hit on like a 6 with their first shot. Huge difference between hitting on a 6 and hitting on a 4. And then when you do hit, if you are over half range against an enemy medium tank, it's like, well, okay, I'm pen +4, so that means I need to get a 5 to glance. Or 6 to pen. So 50% of the time, all you're doing is glancing. There's so many more barriers to a medium anti-tank gun than there is to a super heavy. That's why this thing is quite pricey. Another big advantage of a Sherman Firefly is it's a medium tank. If you look over a lot of the American tank destroyers, such as the Hellcat and like Jackson, they tend to be quite light. Some of them are like 7+ armor, some of them are 8+ armor, but it makes using them really risky because you can sort of drive out and get your shot, but if you miss, it's a real good chance the opponent is going to shoot back and pop you. Some tank destroyers I think have recce and whatnot, but if you don't, it's high risk, high reward. Whereas with a Sherman Firefly, you can, as we said, use that range to your advantage so that when the enemy shoots at you, they're going to have range to their pen value, they're going to have range to their hit value. When you shoot them, you're going to have the advantage. And if they do hit you, they've then got to actually penetrate your armor on 9+. It could be a 5 or 6 to really do any damage to you. So the damage value combined with the super heavy anti-tank gun makes for a very deadly and surprisingly durable medium tank. However, Sherman Firefly is not all rainbows and lollipops. It's not all good. It does have a number of really big drawbacks. The first one is, unless you're taking a Canadian one, you've got an anti-tank gun and an MMG. Your ability to deal with infantry is limited. And you probably don't want to spend 295 points on a Sherman Firefly and then use its coaxial MMG. That's 295 points for a medium machine gun. It's not good. And if you do go for the turret mounted super heavy tank gun, then you have the risk of the enemy infantry going down. So you could be light cover down, hitting on a 6. That doesn't feel good. We just went over what that's like with the medium anti-tank gun. That doesn't feel good at all. If you do hit, the 3-inch template is big. It's going to slap even veteran infantry around. But it's not likely to hit against veteran infantry dug into cover. You can't do like what howitzers can and start dialing that shot in and going for 6s and then 5s and 4s and all that kind of stuff. And if you do want more anti-infantry, you're going to have to pay for it if it's even an option. You could spend an extra 15 points on an already pretty expensive unit just to get an extra medium machine gun on there. And it's a pintle one, so if you fire it early, you could be at risk of counting an open top. People starting to throw rifle shots and other things at your Firefly to pin you up. And you may not even have that as an option. If you're playing a historical game, you might not have the Canadian choice. Your Firefly might have to make do with being a British one and just having a super heavy anti-tank gun and that Coax MG. As we said, really limits its ability to deal with infantry. Or action is an infantryman's game. Finally, and I have mentioned this a few times throughout the video, it's a damn expensive tank. 300 points for a medium tank is pricey. That's premium. Bear in mind that in a standard 1000 point pickup game, that's almost 30% of your points allowance. And if you are going into a more competitive environment and you don't know what you're going to face off against, you end up fighting a pure infantry army. That's 30% of your points, which are really not going to be achieving much that game. Oh, and one last little thing to mention. It's not really a negative. It's more just a factor to be aware of, a bit of a restriction, a caveat, if you will. It's a late war unit, so you won't be able to use it in any time period. In summary, I do like the Sherman Firefly. It's really cool, and it's got a fantastic heavy anti-tank gun on a mobile drawable platform in comparison to the Toad 17 pounder. But it is very expensive, and it does have some serious limitations in the anti-infantry department. I would describe this as a fun unit with some viability on the tabletop. But of course, all of this is just like my opinion, man. Let me know what you think down in the comment section below. Are you a fan of the Sherman Firefly, or do you tend to just use it in those fun games? If you enjoyed today's video, don't forget to smash that like button and also subscribe to never miss an episode. Would you like to know more? If so, then please consider becoming a channel member or patron. By supporting the channel, not only will you be doing your part, but you'll also be helping me create more content for your viewing pleasure and unlocking a whole host of perks. You get everything from a badge next to your name, custom emojis, but the big one is access to the Mordian Glory Discord server, an online community with almost 2,500 active members. It's always popping off in the MG Discord. We've got channels for army lists, hobbying, tactics, stories, and even a pretty spicy meme section as well. For all you greenhorns that wanted to see the Mordian Glory Hole, today is your lucky day. And joking aside, I do want to say a massive thank you to all of the current channel members and patrons. You guys are amazing. Truly the lifeblood of the channel. I could not do Mordian Glory full time without the incredible and generous support of my members. So thank you guys so much. And last but certainly not least, I want to say a personal thank you to all of my top tier Patreons. These are the War Masters, the people who have truly gone above and beyond the call of duty. So a heartfelt thank you to Alex Dengal, Bon Vert, Mad Larkin, Marcus Roberts, Mark Panconi, RJ Scorpion, Swordfish Trombone, Try Again Bragg, John Stubbs, Nick Walsh, Diesel Fox, and August Barney. Seriously, guys, thank you from the bottom of my heart. Your support is incredible and it makes a huge difference. Thank you so much. That's all for now. Hope you've all enjoyed today's video. And of course, as always, I'll see you guys next time.